Welcome into Action Island, live from Las Vegas at Radio Row for one last time. This is Action Island, presented by FanDuel, joined alongside Nick Giffen, Gilles Gallant, Sean Kerner. I'm Megan Payton. Having a little bit of bittersweet emotions right now because this Action Island NFL show has been a blast, and this crew has crushed it. 4 wins for the Action Island and the parlays and some crazy plus money. Let's end with a bang for Super Bowl 58. If you're new to Action Island, I'm sorry you missed out on the entire season, but don't worry, we've got a good show for you. It's the place to be for parlays, presented by FanDuel. Bet right now $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. This is for new customers. Get involved if you're new, if your bet wins. This is going to be for new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and when the terms and conditions apply, must be 21 or older. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Bet $20 in bonus bets if your team wins. And we've got 2 teams left in the NFL. It's the Chiefs, it's the Niners, it's Super Bowl. Here's how it's going to work. Nick, Gilles, and Sean are going to present 2 bets that they like. We're going to vote one on, vote one off, and at the end, you'll have a 3-leg same-game parlay. I'll throw in a bonus bet as a 4th leg. Look, a lot of people are just talking about this game, who's going to win, but we're going to find ways to get value on it. So, Nick, start us off. 2 of your favorite bets for Super Bowl 58.
Yeah, let's kick it off and let's win another Action Island parlay. So for my first pick, I'm gonna go with Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice over 6.5 receptions. He, since Thanksgiving, he's become way more involved in this offense, and he's actually hit this in 6 of 9 games since Thanksgiving weekend, including 2 of 3 in the playoffs. He's averaging 7 receptions per game in those 9 games. And that's actually skewed downward by 1 low reception game. His median is actually even higher. His median is 8 receptions in those 9 games. So half the time he's had 8 or more receptions. He only lines up on the outside right side around 20% of the time, which is great for him because that means he's going to avoid San Francisco's top cornerback, Charvarius Ward, who only allows a 55% catch rate and a 15% targets per route rate because Ward lines up on the defensive left side more than 90% of the time. So Rashee Rice will be avoiding the Niners' top cornerback for a lot of the game. Instead, he'll be seeing more of Lenore and Ambry Thomas, who both allow around a 70% catch rate and a higher target per route run rate as well, around 16 or 17%, so a little bit higher than Ward. And of course, in this game, the Chiefs technically are the underdog. They've been favorites a lot this year, but as the underdog, it could, if they are trailing late, force them into a more pass-heavy game script. So there could be a few extra targets, even more than Rashee Rice has already been seeing over the past 9 games his way. So I definitely like, for my first pick, Rashee Rice over 6.5 receptions.
It honestly feels like a bet that works out, which whatever game script you're going with. If Chiefs are down, yeah, they're going to go with Rashee Rice, who's really been stepping up as that second guy outside of Kelsey in the pass catching game. Yet, if the Chiefs are not down, it still feels like Rashee Rice has really developed, especially into the postseason. We're seeing his involvement. There's been a ton of knocks on the Chiefs' offense around them. Can they do it? Aside from Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes, it's like, but I feel like we're not giving enough credit to Rashee Rice. So over 6.5 receptions as the first option for the first leg for Super Bowl 58. What else are you looking at for the second option?
Yeah, it's a Super Bowl. We're going to have a little bit of fun.
Right?
So I have a fun one here for you. If you look in the same game parlay over at FanDuel tab there, either in the app or on the web, there's a prop called first half winner, end of regulation winner. And I'm going to go with first half winner 49ers and end of regulation high, meaning we're going to overtime at 31-1. And I actually like all the tie options. If we look at FanDuel's 3 options that end in a regulation tie, the implied odds around those are, when you combine them, about plus 1350. But if you just bet, will there be overtime, FanDuel's only offering plus 1120. So it's kind of a workaround to the overtime here. We can bet all 3 and get plus 1350 equivalent. And my overtime model, which again, in week 2, we hit a 264-1 overtime parlay between 2 games, has this at 12-1 as fair value. This is one of the most likely overtime games of the whole year. The kickers combined have missed 1 extra point all year. We don't want missed extra points because that makes it harder to get to overtime, because then you get on these oddball scores. And they're indoors, so even lower chance of missing an extra point. They also have combined to attempt only 1 2-point conversion all year, these two teams, and they didn't even convert it. So we also don't like 2-point conversions when they aren't needed, because that puts us again on oddball scores. So we have a really good chance to stay on 3, 7, 10, 14-point differences, which are all very comfortable differences to make overtime more likely. And the fact that we have two really good offenses means we can come back from multi-possession deficits, and certainly being indoors helps this as well to have a potential comeback. So this is really the perfect overtime scenario. So of the three, I said, well, let's just roll with the favorite, which is San Francisco. So we're going to go San Francisco to win the first half, and then end of regulation to be a tie.
These are so fun. I feel like I've been geeking out all week just looking at the different fun ways you can bet on the Super Bowl, because we don't get this during the regular season. This feels like hey, if you're looking at like the scoregami aspect, it's like fade that and go with San Francisco first half and a tie in the second half, and you're probably getting better odds at plus 3,100. All right, so are we throwing in our first leg of the parlay at plus 3,100, or are we going with just a little classic receptions bet? Rashee Rice over 6.5. Jill, Sean, let's start voting. All right, 3, 2, 1. Shout out graphics team, by the way, for that great graphics of Super Bowl. Let's go. Rashee Rice. Okay, Nick, I feel like it was very fun. I like that as a solo bet, but we can't start our Action Island show off with a plus 3,100 first leg bet. I can't believe you could parlay that. All right, Jill, what was your thoughts? Why are we going Rashee Rice over the little combo that Nick put together?
Yeah, I feel like Nick kind of tried to sneak in a same game parlay within a same game parlay here, which is awesome. And as a result, I'm probably going to bet it on its own.
Yeah.
But because of that, I'll just go with Rice in this instance.
It makes sense, but I love it on its own. Sean, is that your thoughts too? It's like, hey, let's start out a bit more simple for this one.
Not simple. Just let's have something a little bit more beatable. But I agree with Jill. Like, this is a great standalone play. I will be joining Nick with this as well. But yeah, starting off hot with a 31-1 prop is a bit much. I'd like to end on a win. I mean, hopefully that one cashes, but I would rather do that as a solo bet for sure.
I feel like we need to figure out like what that payout would have been at the end of the show if we went with that instead. And then when we watch the Super Bowl, of course that'll hit, and we'll be wishing we had it.
Oh, yeah.
But I like that. All right, so we're gonna go with Rashee Rice over 6.5 receptions for the first bet. Jill, it's Super Bowl Sunday. There's got to be touchdowns. Could you imagine if we had a Super Bowl without touchdowns with the Niners and Chiefs? Pro Bowl rosters all around. You're all over the touchdown scores. So where are we looking?
For sure. And usually I try to give out anytime touchdowns for this exercise, but
yeah,
the anytime touchdown market is fairly steamed, especially at the top being the most prime time of prime time games. So instead, I think what we'll need to do is, if we want to have some take on Christian McCaffrey, we got to take his first half touchdown, because it's at plus odds. It's anywhere between plus 110 and plus 120 instead of the anytime touchdown, which is around minus 200 to minus 250. Not a ton of value there. But Christian McCaffrey, I mean, he had 4 touchdowns in both playoff games, 18 games played, including the playoffs. He has scored in 15 of them. But in those 15 games, excuse me, CMC had a first half touchdown in 13 of them. So in 86 per games that he's scored, he scored in the first half. And also the Niners offense been very efficient in the first quarter, scored on the opening drive of 10 of 19 games. They've scored the opening touchdown in 13 of 19 games as well. A first half offense mainly, especially because the Chiefs defense has been very strong in the second half. So I think Christian McCaffrey, if we're going to be putting him on the same game parlay, it has to be a first half touchdown at plus 120.
I think it's a steal that we're getting that at plus money. You think about like a lot of this is the time where you're getting all these fans that maybe are new to the betting game and wanting to get involved in the Super Bowl. And I feel like your kind of casual fan would go, well, the Niners are going to come out and they're going to want to have these explosive plays. So we're going to look at like the Ayuks, we're going to look at maybe Debo. But the funny thing is, like, the Niners' explosive plays come from Christian McCaffrey. Their run game is so explosive. And I could see that being the strategy. First half, trying to get up on the board very early on against the Chiefs. The fact that we can get plus money at Christian McCaffrey in the first half feels like, so I like Christian McCaffrey two touchdowns as well for even more plus money, but for the purpose of the parlay, that is a great addition. What is the other option for touchdown scores in this one?
So again, same thing. I want to have action on Travis Kelce, but I don't want to bet his anytime touchdown. It's around minus 105 to plus 110. So I think, again, the approach that we need to take is Travis Kelce for a first team touchdown. Now that's around plus 320 to plus 330. Now, I took this bet last year in the Super Bowl at plus 330, and I also took it last week against the Ravens, and it also hit. So that one hit in the first quarter. The Super Bowl one, it hit in the second quarter. Kelce, again, just kind of matchup proof, has that playoff pedigree, 17 touchdowns over his last 15 playoff games. He has scored the first Chiefs touchdown in 5 of their last 7 playoff games. I also think this Niners defense is strong, but not as strong like against tight end as maybe as they're showing. And you look at some of the tight ends they've faced this year, like a Sam Laporta or TJ Hawkinson. Those guys were able to get numbers on them. Trey McBride as well, 10 catches, nearly 100 yards. And even when they were facing the Bills and Ravens over the last 2 weeks, those were 2 of the stronger defenses against tight ends. Kyle Hamilton, for example, hadn't allowed a touchdown to a tight end all season. And that was the first touchdown scored in that game against the Ravens. They only allowed 6 touchdowns combined to tight ends all year. And Travis Kelce chopped them up, 16 catches for 3 touchdowns. He scored first touchdown in both games. And I think from a first touchdown perspective, this gives us a little bit more of insurance in case the Niners do start fast and score that first touchdown of the game. As I mentioned, they did score the first touchdown in 13 of 19 games. So I think this is the way that we want to approach a Travis Kelce touchdown in Super Bowl 58.
We got to get Travis Kelce involved somehow. He's the talk of not only the game, but the talk of the world right now. And to find a way to get plus money, yes, adding it into the parlay is definitely going to boost this. I also really like this, Jill, because one bet that I've been looking at all week is the jersey number over under 19.5. Love the over because we're getting CMC and we're getting Travis Kelce. So if you like the Travis Kelce first team touchdown, throw a little sprinkle on jersey number as well. But 2 options for you. Either go with more plus money for this parlay with Travis Kelce first team touchdown, or we go Christian McCaffrey first half touchdown at plus 115. So Sean, Nick, let's vote. The 2 players with the shortest odds to get in the end zone. Where are we going? 3, 2, 1. Are we chickening it? Look at that drawing. Okay. I lost you guys for a second because Tim's over here saying, "What's going on? Show him your little your
classic
CMC,
Tim.
Nick." See, that's not good,
That's
right?
well,
I mean, it's good, but it's not. We've seen better.
I appreciate like the angles and how he kept everything straight. I think he probably used a ruler. Could have been cheating under review.
Mm-mm.
I feel like
throw the red flag.
Purely by hand, no ruler.
Yeah, we feel like we might have gotten you got a head start on that. We knew we were going at Christian McCaffrey. All right, so we're keeping it kind of simple here because we don't want to like throw too much plus money in this 3-leg parlay. So, Sean, what were your thoughts there?
Yeah, just got to go with Christian McCaffrey. I think getting plus odds for him in the first half. I think they will try to establish the run early on. So yeah, I like going the Christian McCaffrey right here.
Nick, what were your thoughts? We loved your drawing. We loved your pick. What are you going with?
Yeah, I mean, nothing against Kelce. I'm very high on Rashee Rice in this game. So, I do think there's a decent chance it could be Rashee Rice who scores the first Chiefs touchdown. And certainly Pacheco is always a threat. But on the 49ers, McCaffrey, you get a whole half to do that. So it doesn't have to be the first 49ers touchdown.
Yeah.
Like you get the whole half. So that's why I went with CMC.
Little extra insurance, which is always good when doing a parlay. So we're going to have Rashee Rice over 6.5 receptions. Christian McCaffrey, first half touchdown. Sean, no pressure or anything, but we got to get the third leg for the Super Bowl parlay. Where are we looking?
All right, for my first one, I'm going to go with Brock Purdy over 262.5 pass and rushing yards. I like this one because I'm showing some value on both, Purdy to go over his pass prop and his rushing prop. So I figured why not just combine him here. But for his passing yards prop, he was very efficient this season. He led the league with a 9.6 yards per attempt. He likely won't be as efficient against a really good Kansas City defense. So, I'm factoring that in my model, but it could be a potential neutral or even trailing game script for him. So he's probably going to have to throw a lot more than normal as a result. So that could help offset, the drop in efficiency I'm expecting here. I also think he does carry some upside here as a runner, and we've seen that in the playoffs so far. But heading into the season, I had mentioned that he has similar rushing upside of like Patrick Mahomes. When you look at his 40-yard dash to the combine, the first 10 yards of it was elite. He was 90th percentile. It was similar to like James Cook, Isaiah Pacheco. He has very good short speed, and then it kind of falls apart after that. But he's really good at escaping pressure, scrambling when he wants to. He's averaged 9 yards of scramble this year. The problem is he just doesn't scramble. He doesn't really have to because he has so many playmakers he could just throw it to. But we have seen him scramble more in the playoffs. We have seen that with Patrick Mahomes throughout his career too. So that's why I think we've seen him rush for 14 and 48 yards so far in the playoffs. I think combining both, his passing upside and rushing upside makes a ton of sense here. I'm projecting his median in this market closer to 283.5. So I do like the value we're getting here.
Yeah, Chris Jones is on the other side coming after him, creating a lot of pressure. If there's going to be a time that Purdy's going to have to scramble, I like it because with the rushing side, he can get to 20 plus yards in one scramble. We saw it against the Lions in the NFC Championship, and in a trailing game script where maybe if the Niners are down, then you're looking for those kind of extra yardage. So Brock Purdy over the combined yards, passing, rushing, get a little insurance on either side. What's the second option, Sean?
Yeah, so for the second one, let's invest in Marquez ValdesTechnical's upside here. So I'm taking him to get 40 or more receiving yards at plus 235. And, he struggled at times this year. He had a couple of really key drops in the regular season, but he's been playing much better in the playoffs. And the Chiefs have been rewarding with more playing time in the conference finals against the Ravens. He ran a route on 96% of Patrick Mahomes dropbacks. That was by far his season high. So, I think we're going to see similar playing time here. And when it comes to MVS, he's a player that has a wide range of outcomes. I'm not interested in taking the over 19.5 receiving yards with him. Yeah. I never want to bet on his median. No. He's the kind of player, if he gets a couple catches, he can go off. So I think it makes sense to take the over 40 plus yards here. I'm not going crazy and taking like 60 plus. I think 40 yards is probably the sweet spot here. He cleared this in the divisional round with 62 yards, nearly cleared this in the conference championship with 38 yards. So I think he's the type player, he only needs 1 to 2 catches to clear this. So I like the value we're getting here at plus 235.
I'm done with the Marquez ValdesTechnical's hate. Honestly, if Patrick Mahomes trusts him, we should trust him. And he does. They would not have him out there. Patrick Mahomes would not be going to him on third down in the NFC Championship if he didn't trust his guy. You even heard him talk about it this week. And there's a lot that MVS has to deal with. And it's, to be fair, credited for the drops that he had this season for sure. But I feel like it's a boom or bust situation, and you laid out perfectly. There's no point in going with the classic receiving yard line at 19.5. It's like, if he's catching the ball, it's going over. He's going to be their deep threat guy. I threw in Marquez ValdesTechnigel anytime touchdown too. So I like MVS here as like your longer shots, get plus money bets on here. So plus 235, definitely going to boost the parlay. So are we keeping it somewhat simple and going Purdy over rushing, passing combined? Marquez ValdesTechnigel to catch it and hold it 40 plus all line receiving yards. Let's vote. Three, two, one. The final leg of Super Bowl 58 is. Okay, look at that. That actually screenshot the two, Nick, Jill, right next to each other. Brock, I'm glad we had that lined up right. Okay, I mean, I really like the Purdy stuff too, honestly. I would take the Marquez ValdesTechnigel as a side bet on its own, though. But for the parlay purposes, I see where you guys are coming from. Nick, what was your thought with this one?
Yeah, you may be done with the MVS hate, but it doesn't surpass my Charvarius Ward love, and so
Oh.
I can't go against Charvarius Ward. I'm very high on him for this game, and I think he does a good job. So, MVS could always get it if he's away from Ward, which he certainly will be on a handful of snaps. But I think the safer play is probably Brock Purdy.
Probably so. Jill, similar thoughts to Nick.
Yeah, you kind of laid it out that the boomer bust aspect is kind of what steers me away, but not to say that I don't like it. I think if anything, I just like it as a solo bet more so than it would be
Right.
as a parlay leg. But again, both bets, if Kerner's giving them out, I like them both. So
Hey, that's the fun thing about Action Island. We've said this since week 1. Take as you will. You're presented 2 bets for a reason. So combine it and make your own parlay however you want. Strongly suggest following the guys though and keeping it the way that they have it set up because they're on a very good winning record for the 2023 season. So we're gonna stick with Brock Purdy to go over his rushing and passing yards combined. And let's recap our Super Bowl 58 same game parlay for the last time on Action Island. We are starting with Rashee Rice over 6.5 receptions. Then we are headed over to Christian McCaffrey. First half touchdowns get a little bit better odds for CMC to get in the end zone. Closing it out with Brock Purdy over 262.5 passing and rushing yards. And you combine that all together, you're at plus 586. You can bet this on the FanDuel Sportsbook. I'm going to throw in the bonus bet. We're bringing back Gilles and taking Travis Kelce, first team touchdown, to really just have some fun with this. If you throw this in there, you're going to get plus 2,900 and a little bit more. It's Super Bowl 58. Isn't this like the game where you're supposed to do all the long shots? You're supposed to throw in all of the fun bets, the Gatorade color. Okay, so I'm gonna close out this show. Each of you tell me Gatorade color, winner of the game. I'm going orange. It was Andy Reid back in Super Bowl 54 who was drenched in the orange Gatorade. A repeat Chiefs win. Nick?
All right, so we're going Gatorade color and what else? Super Bowl.
Gatorade color and who's going to win? The biggest bet of the game. Who's winning?
We're going orange as well. I can't go against my orange and blue Virginia Cavaliers. And then I'm going with 31-24 in overtime. The Kansas City Chiefs, which is different from what I have in my article because it's literally a coin flip and I just hit a random number generator and it gave me the Chiefs.
There we go. Jill, what are you doing?
yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with no Gatorade poured. This is the 3rd Super Bowl. And I think one of the things that's going to happen is I'm going to go full contrarian. It's around 18-1. No Gatorade poured. I think Andy Reid has had enough. And as far as final score, I'm going to go 27-24 Kansas City in overtime.
When you've been to the Super Bowl in 4 of the last 5 years, you're over the Gatorade. You're saying switch it up. Sean, Gatorade color, winner of Super Bowl 58.
I'm with you. I'm going with orange. And I'm going with the Chiefs for now, winning 24-21. But like Nick said, this is such a coin toss for me. I might end up with the Niners, so I'm not locking in quite yet. But as of now, I'm rocking the Chiefs hat and feeling it. I'm going with the Chiefs and orange right now.
That's the fun part about sports betting. There's many more bets out there than just the winner of this game and many ways to get invested in it. Nick, Jill, Sean, it's been such a fun NFL season. Let's end it with a bang for Super Bowl 58. Enjoy the game, enjoy the weekend, and we'll catch you here next time on Action Island for, I don't know, NBA. See you guys next time.